Good evening and welcome to Grants 101, Get Ready to Write. My name is Cheryl McKay and I will be with you behind the scenes for today's session. We are so excited to be here with the Junior League of Toledo. But before we begin, we are happy to bring to the mic your wonderful president of the Junior League of Toledo, Cynthia Marley. But just a few quick tidbits about her. She definitely is passionate about volunteerism and helping her community. She is an educator. She currently teaches at the Aerospace and Natural Science Academy of Toledo. But even with that difficult and challenging profession, she somehow manages to be a board member of the Down Syndrome Association of Greater Toledo, that is DSAGT. Cynthia holds a bachelor's from the University of Charleston in athletic training. If we have any fellow individuals who have also attended the University of Charleston, let us know in the chat. But in addition to that, she also holds a master's of education in special education and teaching. So we're going to have a couple of words from Cynthia, who's going to bring our greeting at this moment. Cynthia, you have the mic.
Thank you. I know you're not here to listen to me, so I'm going to be quick. But I'm going to thank you all for joining Crystal Clear and the League of Toledo, along with Ashley for, whoa, I haven't practiced this, but okay. Thank you all for joining Crystal Clear and Junior League of Toledo tonight. And thank you for Ashley Futrell, Morgan Kozinski, and Stacy Moss for organizing everything. It's awesome to have so many leaders with us. We didn't know how many to expect, but this is awesome. Thank you all for coming. I wanted to chat with you all really quick before getting down to business. Our journey to this workshop happened because last year we wanted to apply to a few grants to help our new community project as we grow. As we grow as the diaper bank that serves Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan regions, we had a few people within our organization that knew how to write grants, but not many had the skills that were needed in order to write a successful grant from start to finish. So I know everyone here is thankful that Crystal is able to share her knowledge with us. I know I'm super thankful. Although we were living in a pandemic, during our inaugural year, As We Grow was able to purchase and donate approximately 28,000 diapers, 390 packs of wipes, and 300 creams. We were able to apply to a few grants, but we were not awarded those grants. The most recent donation we were able to make to our community partner was 6,000 diapers, 50 wipes, and 50 creams. This year, we are working to expand our community partners in order to help reach an even wider audience. So while I have your attention, I wanted to ask you all to support our diaper bank as we grow by participating in our second annual and virtual Diaper Dash. If you're not able to participate, you can still donate at the link in the chat box, or you can sign up for the race. And then if you have any questions, please contact me at president@juniorleaguetoledo.org. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. We appreciate you so much for giving us a couple of tidbits. We want to remind everybody that if you're interested in assisting with your participation in the Junior League of Toledo's 2021 Diaper Dash, please again, just check the link in the chat. So we won't keep you any longer. Hopefully you're in the right spot. We're going to figure that out in just a second. But hopefully you're here to learn a little bit about writing grants. And we have an amazing evening planned for you. So with that being said, just want to let everyone know that every year, millions of dollars are offered by governments as well as private companies around the world to help organizations fund their projects. Grants are available for everything from scientific research to manufacturing and construction, and many grants are even available not only to just companies, but also to individuals like yourselves. Grant writing can provide a multitude of benefits for your organization or business, from economic benefits to organizational, or from even team building to brand image. Focusing your energies on the grant writing process can provide opportunities for each of you to develop your organization and or business in ways that you never imagined. So, please at this moment give yourself a pat on the back because you have made a great decision by taking part in tonight's session, Grant Writing 101. So we definitely want everybody to get ready to write. For tonight, we do have an amazing presenter, and this is my right hand, left hand, all hand person, Crystal Taylor. You're going to love her as much as I do. Crystal Taylor opened Crystal Clear Communications in 2016. This business and nonprofit development strategy firm works with clients across the United States to help them scale their existing services. A natural polymath, Crystal is an expert writer, public speaker, and teacher. She uses her knowledge, attitude, and producer administrator management style to help her clients become wildly successful. Since the pandemic, she has been providing online live training sessions to organizations and individuals to learn technologies such as Zoom, Google, Facebook, Canva, as well as other topics. She enjoys helping businesses and organizations work more efficiently in a totally online environment. She's written grants for more than 20 years, primarily in the education and social services sectors. She has experience in applications to federal, state, local, private, and public foundations, pharmaceutical companies, and universities. Crystal has written with organizations such as Bowling Green State University, TRIO programs, the Multi Faith Council of Northwestern Ohio, Advocates for Basic Legal Equality and Learning Ladder Child Care and Development Center, just to name a few. A lifelong learner, Crystal earned a bachelor's degree in communications, a master's degree in geography and planning, and an executive MBA. She is also certified as a master urban farmer from the Ohio State University Extension and is certified to teach the Bring Your quote unquote A game curriculum from the Center for Work Ethic Development. Crystal has two children, Chris 30 and Corey 29, and the love of her life, grandchild Summer May, born in spring of 2021. She looks forward to being able to travel, which is a serious passion for Crystal. She also enjoys gardening, shopping, and entertaining guests in her home. I also happen to notice she enjoys skating as well. Didn't mean to throw that out there. But ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to hold you any longer. We are so excited to talk a little bit about Grants 101. Please get ready to write and also receive tonight's presenter, Crystal R. Taylor. Crystal, you do have the mic.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Cheryl, for that awesome introduction. The sun is not letting me be great today, so I got to shift over this way so I can block that little sun there. Thank you to the Junior League of Toledo for inviting Crystal Clear here today to talk about Grants 101 and what you need to do before you ever sit down to write a grant. So let me just let you know that tonight we're not talking about the mechanics of grant writing. We're talking about all those things that should be happening before you ever sit down to write a grant. So get ready to take some notes if you're that type of person. Mind you, you don't have to do that though, because all of these sessions are being recorded. You don't have to worry about any of the notes, because you'll receive the notes and things in a Google Drive upon completion of the program. So you'll have lifetime access to this, and you'll also be able to share it with all of the organizations that I know you guys are all working with. I am very happy to be affiliated with the Junior League of Toledo. Excellent work. Thank you so much for all of the junior leaguers out there who are joining us today. We also have members from other organizations that I belong to, the National Association of Negro Business and Professional Women's Clubs Incorporated, and also Westgate Toastmasters. Thanks so much, Mike, for being here. I really appreciate that. Cheryl, before we get started and moving right into everything, I have a few questions I'd like to ask those who have joined us today. And so if you would please put that poll up there. I just want to get a read for the room and find out exactly how people are feeling about this situation with grants. So Cheryl, go ahead and run that poll.
Absolutely, Crystal. So in a second, you are going to see a poll on the screen. We want to give you a few seconds to tell us a little bit about yourself. We want to know about your experience. Please have no shame, no anxieties about giving us your truth. So we are going to do that. And while you are giving us a little something about yourself via the poll, we do want to let everyone know that this is going to be definitely an engaging presentation. We want to give you the opportunity to ask questions to our lovely presenter. So throughout the course of tonight's session, I will be behind the scenes, gathering those questions that you might have regarding the grant writing process. So if you do have a question for Crystal, please just simply drop your question in the Q&A, or you can even just drop it directly in the chat window. All right, so let's get those votes in. Crystal, we have about 75% of the votes in. They are coming in. All right, we are nearing 85%.
Excellent, excellent. Go ahead, guys. Make that choice. Make that choice. If you notice on the second question, when it talks about the anxiety around grant writing, you have the option of picking several of those. So any of those that apply to you, you can answer all of them. You can answer as many in the second question as you'd like to. Well, we are at 87%. Cheryl, I think we can go ahead and close the poll now and look at the results.
All right, the results are posted for you.
All right, well, look at there. So we got lots of people. The vast majority have never written a grant. This is a great place for you to be, because let me tell you, learning this process before you start writing a grant will make it so much easier for you down the line. Got a few that have contributed to writing, few that, one person that's led some teams, and then a few of us who are usually responsible for writing the entire grant. So for you guys, I will say, again, you'll hear some information today that will hopefully change the way that approach goes with your organizations that you're working with. And we look at the anxieties. And so that starting piece, that's a scary thing. I know it is. And I'm so glad to hear that, because that means you're in the right spot. We're going to talk about all of those things that help you get started and get on the right foot. I do not like the budget either. For those 6 of you who said that, I always tell people I'm the writer. I need you as the organization to know your numbers. Of course, I match them up and make them look pretty, but that budget piece, I save that for the people who have to spend that money. Oh, that's pretty awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to answer those questions. I'm going to stop sharing on my screen, and Cheryl, we can get ready to move forward.
I'm excited.
Yay. Okay, guys, here we go. I'm going to share my screen, and I have a few little mechanics here that I have to go through. So give me a sec as I get ready to share this screen. You're going to see a couple of pieces come up on my screen. Oh, I pushed it too fast. Bummer.
And while Crystal is getting us ready to receive info on the Grants 101, we want to let her know that we too are ready. So if you are ready to learn a little bit about the grant writing process, give us a ready in the chat. Give us a ready. We want to see either a ready or we want to see hands raised. You can use the little emoji. I see a couple of readies in the chat. Let's get them going. We want 100% because we want to say, we are ready to take our organization, our business to the next level. Let's see those readies in the chat. Crystal, they are coming through. They are ready. I see a couple of names there that look a little familiar. Victoria Cruz, yes.
Yeah.
Maggie, I see Maggie is ready. Dorsey is ready. All right. Amanda is ready. Ebony, Dana, Michael, Lisa. Oh, they are ready. Patricia, Crystal, they are ready for you.
Thank you, everyone. I'm trying to move some things around on my screen here, so I'm seeing a couple little black spots here. Sorry if you see those. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that so you don't have to worry about seeing that. Thank you, everybody, for your energy. Keep it up. We're going to have an exciting time. I am on the clock, 6:45. Let me let you know that today for our training, we do a 2-part process. We'll spend about 40 minutes here going through the PowerPoint presentation, having some discussion. And yes, we're in a webinar setting, but this is a discussion. I want you to share things. Cheryl can look at the chat, monitor it, and let me know since I'm sharing my screen and can't see anything there. So she'll bust in and let me know you guys have questions. So we'll make sure we get those answers. Keep those questions coming. If you all are out there, you've been writing grants for a long time and you know some of those answers, share your knowledge. We're saving the chat records as well. We'll be able to see all of that. And we want this to be a great experience for everybody. If you have a question, it's not weird, it's not odd, put it in there and let's get it going, okay? So here we go. We're getting ready to write. Woohoo! But before we do that, let me tell you who these people are. These are the people that I live my life for. That was my son and his girlfriend. His name is Chris. Her name is Jamise, my beautiful Summer May. She's got a little secret to tell you. At 4 months old, she's got 2 teeth. I can't believe it. She's already moving ahead quite nicely. I just love her to death. And I'm a new Gigi, so I had to do a shameless plug and show you my sweet baby girl. And then there on the other side is my youngest son, Corey. Ladies, he is single, so if you have daughters, he lives in Lakewood, right on the lake. He owns a condo, and he works for the Federal Reserve. So send me pics or something. I don't know. That might be kind of weird, but I'm trying to make this process move along here. At any rate, these are the people that I love. They inspire me every day to do what I do, which is teach and educate and empower other people to live the lives that they desire. And so that is really the focus for why I do all that I do. Now, you've heard her voice, you've not seen her face yet. Miss Cheryl McKay is my sister from another mister. She is a digital wizard. When I tell you, if you need a document done, or if I need a document done, I should say, Cheryl is my go-to. She makes everything pretty. You've seen all of the things that have been popping off and going on here. That's all because of Miss Cheryl McKay. She is the Zoom hostess with the mostest. She is our showrunner for the day. I love having Cheryl in the background with me because she is the chat master. She's my back office beauty, taking care of all the things that I can't see and I can't do. Cheryl, I must have done something odd on my screen because I do not see the image up there at all. I saw that you just
I snuck in.
yeah, but I don't see it showing on the other screen. So I'm gonna have to probably come out of here and see if I can make that work. I don't really know. Things are gonna be weird today, but we're gonna make it work. I don't think you guys need to see me, so I'm just gonna keep on talking at this point. So Cheryl, thank you so much. Can you join us on screen?
Yes, I'll come right back on.
All right, let's see. Guys, can you see
I
Cheryl?
think they can see me.
Nope, I can't see you on my other screen. So I think I've made some setting issues.
Oh, Michael said he can see me.
Oh, Michael can see you. Awesome.
And
It's just me.
Morgan. Hello, everybody.
Hey, all
Kara,
right.
Connie.
Hey, all right, there we go. So that's Cheryl in the background. I don't see me on my other computer. I run two systems, guys. I'll give you a little insight from the back because I want to see what your experience looks like. And clearly my computer is telling me tales. So that's okay. It's going to get better from here. That's what I can say. Oh, how did I get way over there? Next. There we go. All right. Zoom and Canva. They're awesome presentation tools. We just make it work when we need to. So here we are, guys, and you want to write a grant. Oh my goodness. What does it entail? Where do you start? Which programs are you operating that you have enough information about to put together a proposal that's going to wow the funders? Who's on your team? Are you a grant writer of one? What does that look like for you? It's hair pulling, right? You're just like the girl in the picture. I don't know where to start. I'm just going to put something together, right? No, we've got to do better than that. That's what we want to focus on today. And we already talked about the budget. Do you have a budget? Not just for your program, but do you need a grant writer to come in? And if you do, have you thought about what that could cost or what that looks like? Do you have board members on your team that champion your cause? Do you have maybe politicians or community stakeholders who have some sway with the people that are going to be reading the grants? Where do you begin? It's mind-boggling sometimes, all of the things that come up. One of the big things for big organizations that have written the same grant year over year, I always hear this. Well, we got it the last time, so can't we just use the same grant as the last cycle? Absolutely not. You got to read and figure all of that stuff out. So questions abound when you get to this grant space. So let me know, guys, or let Cheryl know, because I can't see the chat right now, but let me know, what kind of questions do you have when you're looking at writing a grant, when you're coming to a program like this? Pop those questions in the chat. And as we go through, Cheryl will call some of those out. We'll make sure that I'm hitting on some of those and getting the answers that you all need. So before you ever start writing a grant, people don't realize this, but there is a massive amount of research, a massive amount of planning that needs to take place. If those things do not happen, you will find yourself in grant writing, I don't know, limbo, HE double hockle sticks. I don't know. Grant writing can be anxiety laden. But let me let you know that if you put effort in the research and the planning before you actually go out and say, we're going to write this grant, this one right here, this is the one we want. If you put this effort in and apply some of the things that I'm talking about today, then you will find that the anxiety will fade away from you. Your team will be happier. The implementation, once you win that grant, is going to go smoother. And those are all things that we all want to have. And so let's try to get those today. Look down there on the bottom of the screen. People do not realize. People say, oh, I'm going for a federal grant. It's 125 pages. That's going to take forever. It's going to take all of our eggs in this basket. Everybody's got to be all hands on deck. Wrong. If you spend 80% of your time, 85 to 90% of your time researching and planning, the grant writing process goes so much smoother because you have all of the pieces in line, all of the data, the demographics, the need, you have all of those things ready to go. And let me tell you, as a grant writer, if I go to an organization and they've gotten all of these things done, I am happier, their team is happier, the writing process goes much better. And most grant writers will tell you, I can't guarantee you're going to get the grant, but I can guarantee that you turn in a fundable proposal that is going to score high in the rankings. And so you'll be in a great position to receive that grant. Now, if you do the research and the planning, that just goes up a notch even further and further. So don't get it twisted. You do not just blindly pick up a grant and say, let's get to business. We're going to write this grant. No, 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 no. Before you ever get there, you have got to put in some work. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So exactly what is a grant? If you think about it, just sit back for a minute and just think about it. Every single grant is written to solve a problem, right? You're helping somebody, some group, some population, some country, some entity to solve their problems. If you can't identify the problem, or I ask you what the problem is and you can't spit it out, why do you think a funder is going to magically understand what you're saying? They're not. So helping and knowing what you're helping and how you're helping is probably the lion's share of the prep work that you need to do. You need to tell a convincing story. Convincing stories come with research and planning. I know my audience. I know what I provide them, and I have outcomes to show for the work I've done in the past. So that helping piece is major. That's the first part to any proposal. If you're just writing a proposal because you want some extra money and you're not trying to help anybody, save your pennies and your brain cells and those extra hours of doing that writing, because it's all for naught, right? What is the problem you're trying to solve? Grants say problem, and then the organization says, in order for us to do this work, this is the budget we have set, right? The budget is next. If you know about resources, if you know about human capital, if you know about stakeholders, if you know about anything, you know that you have to budget time and you also have to budget money. The budget is the linchpin to the grant. You can have a great need, a great story, and a really crappy budget. Like your budget people work on the second floor and the writer lives somewhere totally different and never goes to visit them. How many times has that happened, right? Your budget must tell the same story that your needs section does. For example, when you're writing and you call somebody a caseworker in the writing, but on the budget, you call them an outreach worker, the grant people go, they're not really sure what they're doing. Less points. So you have the help, you have the budget. They're tied together. And then who are you writing to? I'm a copywriter by trade. I always look at who is my target audience. When you're writing a grant, the target audience is the agency that funds you and the committee that rates you. So you're asking them to provide the finances to fit your budget for you to do that project. And if you think about it like that, it kind of changes your perspective from we are the ones that do this work. This is how much it costs us to do this work. We think we're a great fit for your organization, and we're asking you to invest your money into us so that we can do this. Listen to that conversation. Now, hear the other conversation. Oh, there's a federal grant out there for diapers. Let's apply for it. That's the chasing money model. If you live by the grant, you've heard it, you'll die by the grant. You have to live by your mission statement and by the work that you know how to do. Don't get caught in the dollar chasing area. Why? Because that dollar chasing space is really that HE double hockey sticks place. It's literally grant nightmare city. You don't want to do that. It's going to ruin your teams. You will be having turnover every other year because you're not staying funded and because people literally they dread the grant writing process coming up. So as we look at our focus, our finances, and then our funders, we need to take an internal and an external assessment. These are the planning and the research areas that we need to look at that we're going to spend a lot of time today going over. Internally in your organization, before you ever sit down to write a grant, you should be pulling out any previous proposals for the grant that you plan on writing. Do you know what the program is that you want to fund? Do you have any outcomes? Do you have any evaluations? Do you have any job descriptions? Do you know how many people you need to actually run the grant? You have no idea how many grant writers come in, write a grant, and never talk to the people who are going to implement the grant. Again, no man's land. I've done some work with organizations before, wrote a stellar grant. None of the implementers were available to meet. And when they won the grant, they basically lost it because the implementers said, hey, we don't do it that way. Well, that's what I asked about at the beginning, but everybody was too busy. If you don't have all of those pieces and stakeholders together, everybody gets that anxiety, that angst, that middle of the throat space, like, ooh, I don't want to go to work today, right? So you can avoid that by pulling out any previous proposals, maybe looking over your program outlines and your evaluations. What worked? What didn't work? Who are the people that are actually going to be implementing this? Do we have job descriptions? Particularly if we don't have people in those places, how are we going to attract the right human resources to come in and help us if we can't tell them what we want them to do? We've talked a little bit about budgets, and because this is not the grant writing meeting, we're not going to spend a lot of time on budgets today, but capacity is a whole nother ballpark. I often have met with clients, usually new organizations. We want to apply for a federal grant for $1 million. How much is your current budget? Oh, we still do a 990 postcard. If you're in the nonprofit world, you know that the only organizations that use 990 postcards are organizations who have less than $50,000 in their annual budgets, right? Their revenue for the year. Please tell me how you're going to convince the federal government that this group of people is ready to move from 50,000 to $1 million. You simply do not have the capacity. And when you chase dollars, you fail to look at that because you get so excited. That's exactly what we do. No, it's not. That's exactly what you dream to do. Right now, that one's a little out of your range. Let's look for a state grant or maybe a family foundation or something like that. Then there's your stakeholders on your team, right? The board of directors. Is your board well connected? Do they know people in different industries? Do they have specialties that can add to the grant writing process? Are they active members? Do they actually do the work of a board, which is not only running the organization, but helping to fund the organization? Do you have regular minutes? Are you able to identify who does what and who does what well? That internal scan that's missing from most people's grant writing process, it really kills the deal in the long run. Because if you are not prepared and you don't know who's on your tribe and who's in your room, you're going to come to one spot and you're not going to be able to move from it. So that internal assessment has got to happen. Then we move to the external side. What geographic area do you serve? Who are the people that also serve that geographic area? Where do you find that information at? Do you have a request for proposal from a previous grant? Maybe there's a grant that you want to apply for. Last year you heard about it and it was after the grant was over with. Do you put that grant in the drawer and wait until the following July and say, oh, we've got 2 weeks again, we've got to get that grant going? Wrong, 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 and wrong. We're going to talk a little bit about why that is the case today, okay? How many people, put it in the chat, have ever looked up an organization's 990, right? The funding organization is required to post a 990. These are nonprofit entities. These are government entities. These are family or private foundations. They must make those 990s available. If you fail to look at that document, you are missing tons of information. I have saved organizations so much money in my fee. Do not pay me to do your research. Do not pay me to write your grant, because you want to write a grant to an organization that has never funded anyone in your state. How do you know that? It's common knowledge on the 990. So that external scan, and we're going to look at these today. So in that first half, remember, we're doing the PowerPoint. When we get to the second half, we're looking at all of this stuff tonight. Do you have best practices models? Is this your own proprietary practice that you're doing? If it is, I hope you have some research to back it up, because if I have limited dollars and things that I want to give out, while you think your program and your project is great, research says these are the programs and these are the practices that make it great, that get the best thing. Yeah, sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes there's a unique component to your organization or a niche that only you feel. When you're dealing with that help part and that need part, that's where you talk about those things. But it still must be grounded in research in order to convince me to give you my money. So best practices models are not something that you say, oh, we don't need that. We've been doing this for years. It's not about you. It's about who you're talking to. And you're talking to people that definitely want to know that you are a good investment. When you use best practices, those are good investments. All right. Grant writers, buy them, don't buy them, use internal people, get somebody on the external side, make some arrangements with them. What's the deal with the grant writer space? Let me let you know that I often talk to organizations and they say, are you willing to take your money after we get the grant and get the money from the grant? Pause. Every single RFP, that's a request for a proposal, has one sentence common in all of it. You cannot use funds from the grant to pay for getting the grant. That is an illegal process. If you don't get caught, you're perfectly fine. If you do get caught, wonk, wonk, you just messed up. Grant writers are not to be paid from the funds of the grant. They should be paid for submitting the grant. You have to think about what your budget is and whether or not your organization has the capacity to write and whether or not they have the capacity to afford a grant writer. Now, there are a lot of us out here who do sliding fee scale things based on the budget of the organization. Being able to ask those really good questions, those are things that you want to know about and want to be able to select the right grant writer if you need one. So external scans always look at who is available in the community that can help me out. And then externally, if you find a funder that's a great fit and you don't wait until the grant application is in the open status and you actually talk to these individuals before you ever start working on the actual grant, you actually can ask them, hey, I'd love to see some previous applications that have been submitted. Can you send me some of them that you scored highly or that won the grant? Whoa, mind blown. Put it in the chat if you've ever asked a funder to show you people that they funded before. If you haven't, you're in good company. Most organizations have not. But let me tell you, if you do this process right, you will go into the grant writing process with more information than you can shake a stick at. And when you do that, your chances of writing a great grant are exponentially higher. So all of these pieces, it sounds like a lot. That's why you need a team. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go through this. So you've put in a little bit of work, you've done some external scans, or maybe you've been thinking about it. Now you have an idea of the program that you want to fund. You know what your need is that you're solving. You know what the budget is that you need in order to make it work effectively. And now you want to find that best fit funder. Where do you go? See the puzzle pieces here? The funder game is finding the right fit. You don't want to put a round grant in a square funder's hole, right? Why? Because you just spent undue time, talent, resource, treasure, all of that stuff, and it's going to go at the bottom of the heap because they don't fund what you do, they don't fund the geographic area where you are, or they have never funded anyone with your budget. You have to do a lot more work than, hey, this sounds like a good grant, they could probably give us some money, which is what happens when you chase the dollars. Where do you go? Where do you find that information out? Now, in high school, my very first job was working at the Toledo Lucas County Public Library. That's right, I started paying into a retirement plan at age 15. Woohoo! As a result, I love the library. My library card number is DAFZA. I use it all the time, even in the electronic space. Every library system is typically going to have a funding database. Now, I'm going to show you when we get to the live what it looks like for the library in my city. But you can find the library, the public library in your city, typically go to the business department, and whoa, they may even offer to do all the work for you. You just have to go and ask. Now, other people know about GuideStar or the Foundation Directory online. There's a couple others. We'll look at a few of them when we get into the live space. Those have all been kind of, congealed into this Candid right here. And so we're going to show you the Candid website today. And Candid is like a huge Amazon for all things funding, right? You can go to Candid and get access to all the different things. A lot of it is for free, but some of the organizations like the Foundation Directory online, they may ask for a fee. But never fear, there's probably 3 others on there you can get the exact same information from for free. So we're going to look at all of that. There are so many different types of funds that you can look for, right? Or funders. There might be federal funders, state funders. There might be private foundations. Maybe there's a Toledo Community Foundation or a community foundation organization in your city. And those are usually the, I call them like the holder of all of the private foundation dollars that private founders don't want to deal with. They don't want to do all the applications. So they house all their money with a community foundation, and then they let them run the grant process. And typically those organizations do lots of trainings and things like that as well. So getting in good with those people is a great suggestion before you ever get ready to write a grant, right? Because writing grants is not just about you. It's about all the pieces, all of those pieces up there, the stakeholder, the funder, the secretary. Let me tell you, when you call a funder, get to know the person that answers the phone. They're your link to all the inside scoopy doopy, if you will. They'll tell you who's in the office, when they're coming back, if they're on vacation, all sorts of things. There's so many different ways you can integrate your organization into their brains before they ever see your proposal. But because people typically wait until 3 weeks before the grant is due, they can't do it. You can't call the federal government and say, hey, I have a question about the grant, and you've already missed the Q&A session and the grant is live. At that point, they can't talk to you. But if that grant just finished and you're like, oh, I missed it, that's the perfect time to start talking to those funders and asking them questions that look maybe a little weird to you because you never thought about it. But we're going to check them out. When you're approaching funders, once you find them, you need to remember that you're building a relationship. You got to find those people. Your team has to be working on it. So up here in this corner where you see all these people scoping things out, that's to let you know that it's not just you. If there's only one person writing the grant and only one person who's going to be doing all the work, stop. Just stop. I'm telling you now, just stop. It's a team approach. You're going to write the grant alone and then give it to somebody else to implement. That's not the best way. We've talked about why. Everybody needs to come to the table. Everybody needs to have these discussions, and everybody needs to be engaged in relationship building. Down here, she's on the phone. Don't be afraid to call a funder. These are public organizations. Even if they're private organizations, they will typically say in their RFP, don't call us, just send us a letter. That's great. No problem. Call them anyway. Why? Because that's a gatekeeper move. Don't call us. I'm an entrepreneur. One of the things I live by is I ask for forgiveness, not permission, right? When you're trying to build a relationship, get on that phone, send out a thank you card if somebody says something nice to you or gives you some background information. Implant your organization and your name in that funder's brain. If you do that, you will see that you have much greater success and a much better relationship, right? Those hidden facts that are not in the RFP, the lady that answers the phone or the man that answers the phone can give you a lot of that information. And so when you're approaching funders, that question and answer session right there in the middle are key things. Jot those down if you can. You want to ask funders before you start writing the grant. This is what we do. Here's our info. Here's our site. Is this a good fit? Now, you can also do some of that research, and we're going to look at what that looks like, right? But is it a good fit for what you guys see? You know what's going on the inside. You may have the insight to say, oh, we're changing our focus for the 2022 funding year. And so while we don't have it on our new documents yet, you will actually be a great fit for what's coming down the pipe. So please continue to work with us. What? I had no idea, right? You can also ask them, I know that I've missed this year's grant, but can you tell me if the grant announcement is going to be made again next year? And if so, when? Do you expect it to come out again in September? Do you expect it to come out earlier? Are things changing in your background? Huh? They'll say, oh, we don't know. Or, oh, we're having a strategic session right now, and we'll be talking about that. I'd be happy to let you know about that as soon as we find out. Let me get your name and number. Bingo. I'm in the brain, right? Here's another good one. Can I see last year's RFP? It's not on the website anymore. That would allow me to do what? It would allow you to start preparing your application a full year ahead of schedule, right? A full year ahead of schedule. What if you had a year, grant writers, single solitary grant writers out there? What if you had a year to get a grant proposal ready? Huh? Oh my goodness. Not only do you have the year, but you also have the ear of the person who's going to walk your grant into the funder's office. You can ask them, do you anticipate any changes? We talked a little bit about that. They may give you some inside details about things like that. And then one of the final questions that you can ask, hey, is it okay if I can call you prior to the grant announcement coming out? Would you mind helping me out as I put this proposal together? Because I really feel like we are a great fit. You've also said you think we're a great fit, and I would love to do some work together, and I know it's going to take time. So if you will be able to direct me, if you can't do it, to the person who might be the program manager for next year, I would really appreciate it. What do they say? A closed mouth don't get fed. So open up that mouth, have that conversation, and hey, you may get inside info. Now, in grant writing, inside info is a gold. It's money in the bank, almost literally. So don't be surprised, and don't be afraid either. Don't be afraid. That organization fit and that getting your name out there, those things really make the difference when it comes time to fund your grant. So as we're getting ready to write, some things you want to do. You want to clearly outline the program that you want to fund. What does that mean? Know the research, know the need, know the budget, know all the players, know all the people who are doing the work. Make sure they're on board. Know what holes you need to fill. Know what your marketing strategy is. Also, if you're new at this, maybe look for a startup grant or a seed grant. If you don't have any background information to show, hey, we've done this before and we have 85% success rate, then don't go after those really large out of the way grants. If you can't tell clearly on your outline, your program outline, what's going on, your funders will never know. So that number one thing, that internal work, we're going to spend a lot of time tomorrow focusing on that. Today, we're going to kind of hop around a little bit and look at some of these online resources and things like that. So the second thing that you want to do as you get ready to write is identify and research those best fit funders. After we get a little Q&A in and we take a break, we're going to go right to the internet and I'm going to show you a couple sweet places you can go in and find funders 100% for free. I call that free 99. Everybody loves free. So we're going to get some of those and we're going to give you some resources as well so that you don't have to memorize them tonight. Number 3, I know the outline. I know the funders. Now it's time to assemble your team, right? The writers, the implementation, the grants manager. I've written grants again for organizations who did not have the proper grants management in place, and all of that work went away when they couldn't submit the billing in the right manner. It's frustrating and it's hurtful to everyone involved. So get your team together. Personally, the team really started at step number 1 because they should be helping you outline that program. So again, those are the internal things. We're going to spend more time on those tomorrow. So we're looking at 2, 4, and 5 for the second half of our time together today. The next thing is building the database. Database? Who said anything about a database? There are millions of funders out there. If you do not hold that information in your brain, oh, I'm sorry. You can't hold all that information in your brain, so hold it in a database. You should have somebody on your team. Maybe it's a board member. Maybe you need to start a committee. Maybe you don't have a fund development team. Maybe your treasurer needs to be the person. Maybe you have an office person who doesn't really have that much to do and they're maybe working from home. I have a tool you're going to take with you from leaving this program. You'll be able to fill in the database and start to build a huge conglomeration of potential funders. It will show you all the different pieces, give you all the information in one spot, and a calendar so you'll know when those things are coming up and it'll be time to write. So building a database is very important when you're getting ready to write, because who wants to start writing a federal grant and you only have 14 days to do it. No way. Save your money and save everybody some headaches, and look quarterly at your database and say, these are the things we should be working on as we prepare for the third or the fourth quarter. Put it in a database. Oh my goodness. Mind blown. And then the fifth thing we've kind of talked about a little bit, establish a relationship with the funder before you write. Now, as I've said, I've been writing grants for more than 20 years. I had the pleasure of attending the Institute for Strategic Fund Development. They had a webinar, or not a webinar, it was live back then in 2013. I believe we were at Concordia College in Michigan somewhere. And I learned so much from that. I'm going to show you and share their resources with you today as well. A lot of this information I started applying to my own grant writing business. And I'll tell you that probably a good 80% of the people that I write with are not using any of these strategies. And that means that they struggle in the grant writing space. They wind up spending resources that they really don't have because they're really not ready yet. So I always put a lot of education on the grant writing process. It's really a relationship, and relationship management is very important. And so building that relationship is key to getting a great grant submitted. Ooh, it's time to take a pause for the cause. Cheryl, are you there?
I am here.
All right,
Definitely.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen as soon as, give me a second here. I've done something wrong. No, here we go. You guys are still there. Oh, well, let me go back to the meeting. There we go.
All right, I think I got you here.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
No problem. So I just want to remind everybody that if you have a question for our lovely presenter, please make sure that you place it in the Q&A or directly in the chat window. We do have a couple of great questions. I want to thank those of you who have done so already. But one thing I do want to also just remind you all that throughout the course of the night, you should see in the chat, and if you scroll back up, there's a couple of did you know facts. And I want to highlight one because Crystal has kind of hit the nail on the head a couple of times about establishing that relationship with funders. So she's kind of hit it from two angles, and I'm a math teacher, so I love angles. So she mentioned something about reaching out to the program manager. Okay, definitely look at that little tidbit that I threw in the chat for you, the did you know fact. But I want to thank Crystal for honing in on that, because I think sometimes we're afraid to do so and we don't realize the benefits of that. And also something else, Crystal, I want to give you a woo woo to allowing individuals to not think that they are above a particular funding opportunity. So when you mentioned seed grants, that lets people know that, you know, the word grant can be a little overwhelming for some, but maybe that's not your path. Maybe you're starting out slowly, looking to a seed grant. So thank you so much for that. We do have a question for you, Crystal.
Okay.
This is from Kara. And Kara, I think this might really kind of lead to what you're going to do in part two. Okay. But she simply said, where do you start looking for grants to apply for?
Yay!
So Kara is ready. Kara, get ready, because Crystal's going to touch on that. I don't know if you want to address that right now, just a little pre.
Sure. We're going to move into the second half after we have a quick break, a little pause for the cause. We're going to look at the library. So you'll see what that looks like. We're going to look at that Candid site, and you will get links for all of that stuff. So you'll be able to start right away. I'm going to kind of go through it and demo exactly what each screen does. So you'll be able to see what it looks like to use it. We're going to look at the US Census as well, because if you do not have sound demographics, that means you have no idea who you say you're trying to help. So we're going to spend some time looking at those things as well. So we have plenty of info for you in the second half here. So stick around after you maybe take a little pause there. Oh, I see a question in there. Cheryl, do you have any other?
So do you want to address that one from India? What
Sure,
is a
sure.
seed grant?
Yeah, a seed grant is typically a grant. Sometimes seed grants come from a lot of different places. Of late, with the COVID things going on, there's been a few seed grants from like LISC, which is Local Initiative Support Coalition or Corporation. Seed grants fund startups. And so it is a seed to make your dream grow, right? You want to get started, but you don't really have the funding and you want to kind of get your foot in the door. Maybe you have an innovative program or something, or you don't have that background research. If you don't have any metrics or anything, then federal grants are not for you. The Fed is not funding a new startup. They have billions of dollars and they want a wide reach. They're not going to give it to you and say, hey, practice with our money necessarily, unless it says in there it's for a startup or a seed grant. So that's a great question, something to look for. Sometimes they're not put in those terms necessarily, but as we go through the grant writing components and getting more and more familiar, you'll begin to see, yep, that those things are available. Now, a lot of times you have to read through the RFP, and we'll spend a little bit of time maybe looking at that tomorrow when we look at the 12 different pieces to a fundable proposal. So again, this is not a webinar about grant writing in particular. This is the things to get ready to write the grant. I think Junior League of Toledo, if we get some interest, maybe that's something we can do in the future. I hope so. I hope so. Because I think that's some good information, as we had quite a few people who were on the call today who have not begun writing grants yet. So again, a great, if everybody, I know we are not on screen, but this is a hand of applause for the Junior
Absolutely.
League. Thank you so much for allowing us to share this information and allowing all of you to come in for free to get this information. It's a conversation. I see Maddie says, yes, would love to hear more and all about grants. Awesome. Do you have any other
Absolutely.
questions, Cheryl?
Yes, we do. And shout out to Michael for letting us know Concordia University is in Ann Arbor. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have another question. This is from Victoria, and she would just like to know, Crystal, can you help us out? Can you possibly explain the difference between a grant and a contract?
Oh, good question.
Mm,
Good question. Most grants will have a contract associated with them, right? And grants are typically made from organizations who get a tax deduction because they're funding a charitable, education, social, medical, something that is in that nonprofit realm. Now, grants have contracts, but if you're a contract worker or you get a contract like a MOU with maybe the city, it doesn't have to be because you're funding anything charitable or doing any charitable work. So contracts are a little bit different in that a contract can come from any space. That's just an arrangement between two parties. We want you to do this. You agree to do this, sign on the dotted line, you start the work, we make the payment. Grants are a little bit different because they want to know that you can do it. They want to see the background information. They had to do a public search and they were looking for lots of different people. They ranked you against others. They do that in contracts too. So you still win contracts. Really, the big difference when typical people say contract versus grant is that typically the people that get grants are nonprofit organizations. In the world of COVID, though, we know that the federal government has made lots and lots of grants for lots and lots of small business owners, for new startups and things like that. So it gets a little murky and a little muddy, but as you move through your life cycle in the grants world, it becomes clearer and muddier at the same time. So it can be a little tricky, but that's a great question. Thanks so much.
all
Any other
right, we
questions?
have, yes, we do.
Okay.
We have a question from Maddie, and Maddie would like to know, you mentioned about an organization that you saw or participated in their event in 2013. She would just like to know, what is the name of that organization that you modeled your grant business after?
Sure. So it is the Institute for strategic fund development. This is, oh good, it's showing up on there, so I don't have my thing backwards. I went to this, and oh, there it is right there, Michael. In 2013, I went here. I'm going to show you the website so you can kind of get on there and see. Now, I've sent a little message to them since we're still in this pandemic space. I'm not sure if they're active. I was in that session a long time ago. However, they have materials, they have some things online. And so there's a lot of different things that you can still find out. They have phone numbers in there to reach out and call people. Remember, it's about building relationships. I would encourage anybody the next time they have something, if they are going to have something, and I did send them a message. So if I don't find out about it, I won't find out about it today while we're here because I'm in the middle of this, but I'll make sure that I put that out to everyone who registered if they respond and give me the feedback that I asked for, and make sure that you get a connection, because I'm going to tell you, until I went there, I mean, I've been really successful, thankfully, at writing grants when there's a good fit. I've also been very successful at telling organizations that I'm not going to write for them because they're not ready. And so once I got to that space at the ISFD, it literally changed the whole process, because now I don't have to say you're not ready. I can say these are the steps we need to take to get you ready, and that turns a no into a not right now, and that's always helpful.
Awesome. We have a question from Deborah,
Yeah.
and she said, suppose you are starting a new service that no one has done before. Where can I begin to do the research?
You need to find some best practices. People are not really going in with the new wheels these days because money is tight and there's a lot of need out there right now. I would always tell you that if nobody else has done it before, there's a reason why. Either it costs too much money, it's very little turnout, it's, there's 1,000 other pieces. I would tell you, if you know that it's successful, be able to prove it. And that means I have done it with a small population, or these are the findings that we had, or here's some research that's adjacent to it. But to just say nobody's ever done this before, that's like the Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey circus. And people love the circus, but funders don't really fund the circus. So that can be kind of a little scary spot for you. You may find an innovator grant or something like that. Those are few and far between. I never say no, but I do say difficult, and that one would be somewhat difficult. Yeah.
All right, and we have two more questions.
Yeah.
One from Susan. She would like to know if possibly you can help out with some tips for encouraging your organization to pivot when the grant parameters or priorities have shifted since the last time you applied for the same grant. So what do you propose there? I know that's a challenge.
A summertime retreat. I really do. I think that that's part of the development team. And if you don't have a development team, your board is probably very small and people are doing multiple jobs and they are living and dying by the grant, right? That's that space. So this is the money we have. That's what we have to do. So we're just going to shift everything we do so we can keep getting this money. Bad move. Your funding is not the dictator of your services. Your mission is the dictator of your services. And the minute you shift from that, the organization is going to toxic city, right? Because now it's all about the dollar. It's not about the need. It's not about the help you provide. It's not about the problem you're solving. You're going to say, I'm going to stop with these people and start with these people because that's what they're paying for. You have to be willing to walk away when it doesn't fit you anymore. What does that mean? That means a diversified funding source. Most large funders are not going to be the sole funder for any grant. Just like in business, if you are a business owner and you have one customer that gives you 80% of your money, you basically have to do whatever they say because you're going to be closed if they're gone. That is business suicide, regardless of whether or not you're a nonprofit or a for-profit entity. You have to be able to diversify your funds. And so maybe you need to start a fundraising campaign or look for some other funders that do those different things. People get very lax sometimes, especially when they get that one good grant, right? They're like, oh, this is it. This is the one that's going to carry us all the way. And then we have a pandemic, and then they stop the funding, and then you have to close, right? So that strategy and that planning, that's where that 85 to 90% of that work comes in. You should be doing that stuff every single month. That should not be, it's grant writing time, let's scramble and get something figured out. Wonk, wonk. You want to do something a little bit different. You want to say, this is our funding mix. We need to replace this or have something that can go into the side, or what can we draw out? That happens in a retreat. It doesn't happen in a board meeting. It may happen in a committee meeting if you have dedicated committee members, but let's face it, everybody's overwhelmed right now, even though we probably had the freest 17 months of our lives, not having to drive everywhere. Some people are killing the game and some people are just killing time. So restructure what you're planning and what you're working on, and you'll see those things start to change, definitely.
Awesome. And our final question before I think we give our brains a rest with a little break. This is from Catrice. Are you aware of any grants that are currently available for startups in Lucas County?
Tricky question. It depends on what the startup is, what you're doing, what kind of programming you have, what type of organization you are, what type of funding you want to. Remember, you start with a program. So what is the need that you're feeling? If you don't know what the need is you're feeling, you won't know what the funder is. And so that internal work really needs to happen, right? That's what you have to nail down. And your grant writer can't nail that down for you. We can certainly lead that process, but then that shifts us from writing to consulting you and your organization on what it is you are actually doing, when that should be something that you know. So there's the question we want to get to. What is your procedure? What is your plan? What is your mission? What is your work? Only fund that work. Okay, so we are going to take a little break here, and then we're going to get into it. I'll show you what some of these sites look like, and then tomorrow, so you're asking a great question. When you come back tomorrow, if you come back, or if you have to watch the recording because you can't make it back, that's where we're going to look at the 12 pieces of information, your social media strategy, all of those things that say, hey, I'm not new, I'm out here, or I am new, but I'm still out here. You can see what we're doing. We have a whole bevy of things that we've been putting together. If you don't have any of that, you're not ready to write a grant yet. You're just not. And you're going to spend a lot of time and money, and then you're going to be stuck. Now, I see some people are putting some things in there. You may find like some seed funding, things like Jumpstart, that will put you through a process, and you can compete to win for a new initiative. There's lots of different things like that. But for the most part, your business starts with, or your nonprofit starts with, this is the work we do. This is the way we do it. This is how much we know it's going to cost us. Let me find somewhere that is going to fund that and match it. So that would be my answer for that one. All right, guys. Ooh, it's 7:43. Ooh, we got to go quick. Let's go. We got 5 minutes. Take a 5-minute pause for the cause. What that means, we'll be back at 7:48. We are going to fly through the second half. If you guys are okay with staying on, if we get to the 8:30 hour and you want to keep staying here, perfectly fine. If you don't worry about it, because it is recorded. But I do want to get through a good portion of this information. The clock is ticking. I'm going to stop talking now. Get me a drink of water. Have a good break. See you back here at 7:48.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going to get started again in just a short moment. Just want to remind everybody, please enjoy our Did You Know facts that will be dropping in the chat in a few moments again. We have some that are already there. We also have some links that have been posted. So please definitely make sure that you do retrieve that information. Again, if you have a question for tonight's presenter, Crystal Taylor, drop it right in the chat window, or feel free to also use the Q&A feature. At some point, Crystal might even allow a few of you to join her live with your question. So if that opportunity is presented, we simply just want you to raise your hand in the participant window. We're going to get started in just a second. Stretch it out and get ready for the second part of tonight's session on Grants 101, Get Ready to Write. Crystal, you have the mic.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you so much. The Wizard of Oz in the background, making it happen. All right, everyone. Ooh, my camera was doing funny things. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are going to move into the second half, which is a live demo. In this live demo, I have tons of websites open. And so when I share my screen, no judgment. I've been putting these things together, and I typically keep like 55 screens open anyway. So I might flutter around a little bit. I think I got it worked out here. So give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen. All righty. Here we go with those weird widgets again. I don't know why that keeps coming up.
So, Crystal, it sounds like you're proposing that we have a pen and pencil or paper or something in hand because you're going to give us a lot of resources, huh?
Well, they can do that, but we also have a Google Drive.
Oh.
So in the Google Drive, everyone will be able to see, and we'll show that here. Let me see if I pull this open. Oh, it still has that weird box on there. All right, I'll put it back down.
Was that a smooth segue about the Google Drive?
Yes, that was a good one. That was a good one. The Google Drive is going to be made available when you get your follow-up email. You will have links for all sorts of things. You'll have a Google Drive, and we're going to look at all of that stuff as we go through our next, what do we have here? About 40 minutes. So we're going to move quick here, show you all the stuff. get you thinking about lots of different things. Still with the questions, we can stay on, like I said, a little bit longer if you all are willing to do that. If you have to go at 8:30, no problem. We can make that happen as well. So here we are on the Institute for Strategic Funding and Development, Strategic Funding Development. This is their website. Let me make it kind of big. All right, there we go. So you can see it. So they have a pretty plain site, but the chat already has the link there. So you can copy that down. Again, if you don't want to copy it and stick it on your computer now, you can wait until you get that link with all of that information in it. But it tells you a little bit about the organization, the programs that they offer, and they have quite a bit of programs. And so when we're doing live trainings on the screen, we read top to bottom and left to right. So we're going to go from the top down the left-hand side here, and you'll see all of the different services and things that they offer. And so they have programs and services here. They have funding sources that they provide. They have a list of grant opportunities. So if you're looking for different things, you can come to this website, come to others. I was on here earlier and I kind of noticed it looks like maybe they haven't put some new things up here in a while, but some of these funders that are here are probably still offering money, and they have the links right here so you can go in and find them. And look on this site. But really the good thing about being on this site is finding out when they're going to be doing these workshops, the advanced grants writing workshop, and then the hosted workshops. This organization also offers scholarships, so they're not super cheap. It cost me about $500, or it would have, but I applied for a scholarship when I went. And what the scholarship was, he gave me a discount because at that time, I wasn't even in business for myself fully yet. I was doing it kind of like a side hustle, but since 2016, full. So I was like, I don't really have the money to give you 500 some odd dollars. And guess what he did? He allowed me to come in and run the registration piece. And so they're really nice guys. They're right here in Northwest Ohio, but the other individual who is in this organization is in Pasadena, California. And so they get around. Now, we know COVID has changed the game as far as driving or distance. Geography is literally irrelevant. I don't know if they're active online yet, and that's one of the emails that I sent out to them. So as they respond, I would definitely be sure to let you know what they tell me. And so John O'Malley is one gentleman. He's the gentleman out of Pasadena, California. But the person that I worked with was Edward Woolman. And when I tell you, he made a huge difference for me, I mean to tell you that difference was substantial. And so the things that they learned and the materials that they put together. Now, this is the workbook that I got from them in 2013. It is in perfect condition because I hold this in high regard. Anytime I'm working on a new proposal, they have a retrospective evaluation. That is the best evaluation I have ever used. You get the chance to see what that evaluation looks like because as you log out tonight, you'll get a survey. Please take some time and fill that survey out. That helps us put together programming that fits what our people want to hear, and it gives us an idea of where we are and what we need to work on. And you'll also get that in a link as well. So definitely check out this website. I think you will find that the Institute for Strategic Fund Development can be a really good fit for your organization. Now, we talked about that internal scan, right? The internal scan. What are you going to be looking at internally? Who is your need? Who is your program for? Who are the people that you are supposed to be providing that service to? One of the questions I think we asked about in the survey talks about the census. Now, how many of you, put it in the chat, have used census data before or know how to go to this particular site? Back in the day, they used to have the ACS, or the American Community Survey. It used to be super easy to go through. Now, let me preface this by saying I am a trained geographer. And so super easy for me is probably like French to people who don't speak French. So I'm not being glib when I say it was super easy, but for those of us who used the ACS, it was way easier than getting into the actual census website and looking for stuff, because you talk about data nerds, these guys in the census, they have all kind of stuff. So I was just working with a university working on a federal education grant, and we had to pull all of the updated data. And I came to the census page, and my beloved ACS is no more. The whole interface looked different, and I was completely frazzled. And so I did what I know to do. I went to a geography student, and that's one thing you can do if you don't have anybody who's comfortable with doing that. There are students at universities everywhere. And when you're looking at demographics or even environmental scans, find a geographer. We're worth our weight in gold in that space. We relate people to space. And that's exactly what you need to do to tell that convincing story. When you talk about need, you have to talk about who those people are. You have to write a story that says, this is the little girl that I want to help. She lives in this neighborhood. All the kids around her operate like this. Nobody there has any money, or they all have money, but they all have mental health issues, or whatever your deal is, whatever it is that you're doing, you need to be able to figure out how to convincingly tell that story, and census data is it. Now, on this site, data.census.gov, back in the day, you would have to put hundreds of things in here to get a chart to come up. They have changed the game. I want to find poverty in Toledo. Oh, if I could spell it right. Ohio. I'm going to push search. What? Did you do anything? No, it's just like a Google search. I know the poverty of all people in Toledo, Ohio. 25.2% of the people in our community live under the poverty line. But not only that, remember, top to bottom, left to right, go down the left-hand side, you can see poverty status in the last 12 months, poverty status of families, selected characteristics of people that are in poverty at different levels. You can look at how many people are on public assistance. So if we click into one of these, it's super easy. You'll get this screen that'll come up. Now, this one is, if you look in the product area here, the ACS 1 year estimates. So 1 year estimates are just that, they're estimates from 2019. So they don't drill all the way down to the census tract. So if you want to say you only work with the low and moderate income census tracts, you would have to find that, but then you would have to come out of the 1 year estimates in order to do that, because this particular 1 year estimate won't do that. But let me show you here on the left, right? Here's the tables, the maps, the pages, all of the different things you can look at, swing all the way over to the right and customize this table. Right now, this table is the city of Toledo, all the families, and then all of these things here, families with related children, by race, they're in here. You keep scrolling down, you'll see lots of different things. But now we want to add in some new things and customize the table. We push on the right side to customize the table, and we get to this little screen here. Again, top to bottom, left to right. So we may want to change the geography. Maybe we want to look at Toledo versus, I don't know, Sylvania, Ohio, so we can talk about comparatively, right? So we want to go right here. We're going to scroll down to the geography. We're going to stay in, I'll go by state. I'll just leave it as state. So not Sylvania, we'll look at it against Ohio just for the sake of time. So you click on state, then you find your state. Maybe you want to match it up against a different state. Typically you want to match it against the state that you're in. And now what you see down here on the bottom is the Toledo city and then the Ohio geography. So that's down on the bottom. And then we get to say close, and look what happens. It adds Ohio. So now we can look at Ohio, and this screen scrolls over. So we have Toledo. You can't really see it as clearly, but Toledo is here. and then I can go back to the other side and look at Ohio again. So this is a great way to pull information. Of course, my computer's acting super weird right now, so you can't see it again, but you can see both of them here. You have the opportunity to download this data. You can download it and save it to an external drive. And it will give you the opportunity to look at the research and be able to tell a far more convincing story. Oh, that's so weird. It should be moving. All right, we're gonna let it roll. But I've also included in your links some information. I'll go right here. Let me tell you that YouTube is your friend. Research, research, research. YouTube has all the information you could ever need. You will want to subscribe to the US Census Bureau page. You see I'm subscribed. This is a 3-minute video that explains exactly how to navigate that data. My computer does funny things when I'm on live. And so, boop, I can't show it to you, but this video can tell you each step, how to go through and do it. And YouTube makes it super easy because you save a whole list of history. And if you found a sweet video, but you couldn't get back to it, or you can't remember what it was, you just go into your history and that video will be right there. I'm not going to play the video. We have a lot of things to get through today, but remember that YouTube is your friend. So we looked at the census data. We looked at that. That's really a great tool for telling a better story. So keep the census on your radar. Anytime you're writing a grant, you do not want to rely on random information from the school district. I mean, if it's education based and it's specific to a particular school or grade, fine. But really, you want to tell that environmental scan. What do those people actually look like, feel like, deal with, all of those things? And census data comes directly from the source. That's something that you want to do. Okay, the rest of the things about the internal, we're going to look at tomorrow. So now we're going to move to that external piece and finding these funders. So I'm going to come over here to these pages that I had set up. Now, this is the Candid website, Candid. And this is actually GuideStar's Candid page. So I said GuideStar, and the other organization that was on my link, the Foundation Center, they're all part of Candid now. So everything, you'll see this yellow bar, you see all these yellow tabs. These are all the channels that I was looking for, and they're all now found under Candid. So Foundation Center is there. This foundation has some stuff there. The Finding Funding page is there, and we're going to take a glance at all of these. So with this, you just want to get started with a free account. You never have to pay for everything on Candid. There's lots of free resources. So I'm on guidestar.org, and instead of going to guidestar.org, it took me to this Candid account. So you would just come here, create an account. Very simple. They shoot you an email. I use Google and Chrome, and so Chrome makes really cool passwords for me, and then it saves them, so I never have to remember them. That's what this little key is about. So if you're not using Chrome as your search engine, switch it up, people. Switch it up. You need to be using the Google and the Chrome platforms. They are far superior over Yahoo, AOL, all of that. Those are old, antiquated. Come up to Chrome. It'll save you lots of time and money. So you get to this page, you create an account. Then you open up your account. Now, here's my account. I'm logged in already. And look what I've pulled up. I'm looking for an organization. I'm logged in, and I put in the search box, Junior League of Toledo. Now, I have 599 results for Junior League of Toledo. Really, they took all the words, and those 599 results are anything that has Toledo, Junior, or League in it. So there's not 599 of them. But look at the information they tell you right off the bat. The gross receipts, the EIN number. You can click on the actual organization, and it takes you here. I'm already signed in. I'm going to re-sign in again. It says, welcome back. I'm signing in so that you can see me. There we go. All right. Now, once you're signed in, you get to this page. So when you find an application or a funding opportunity, You need to come into GuideStar and research the organization. You start here and then you move to that phone call piece after you do a little bit more digging, okay? So you're in this thing and you get to see their mission, their EIN, how long they've been here. Oh, we just saw this lady. There's Cynthia. But this is the gold standard right here. You want to get to the 990. You can look at the population served. So maybe you have a transitional home for men and you heard that the junior league has some money. When you come here, oh, boop, not for me. I can't do anything with them. It's not a good fit, right? Because they serve only women and girls. And so now that's good to know. Now I want to look at the 990s. Now I've pulled up some other 990s, so I'm going to move away from there. Don't worry, Junior League of Toledo. It's public record anyway, so everybody can see it, and that's exactly where it's located. But I want to show you these 990s. The 990s make all the difference. There's a couple of things that a 990 will tell you, and I have a document for you that gives you the opportunity to see all the lines that you need to be looking at when you're looking here. So I'm going to scroll through them. And when you get your link, you'll have a document and I'll show you what that document looks like before we get off the screen today. Now, this is a 990. You see that it's open to public inspection. You are a nonprofit funded by public dollars and donations. Everything you have is open and available. So there's no reason to pay anybody for any of this information. If they're a nonprofit, they must provide these documents and you can find them right there at that GuideStar spot. So every time I'm going to be working with a funder, I'm going to pull their 990. That's part of my prep before I ever say I'm going to write a grant for an organization. You have an RFP. That sounds really great. Did anybody read it? Do you know that they fund you? Okay, you read it and you think that if they fund you. It was a 40-page RFP. Did you read all the way through to page 40? Okay, probably not. That's okay. I'm going to come in and look at the 990. It'll tell me some key information. Now, this is a tax form, wonk, wonk, lots of stuff. What do you want to look at? Part 1, the summary. What do they do? Why did I pick this one? Because the Junior League of Toledo is looking at diapers, right? The diaper need. So is this organization, and what organization was this? This is the National Diaper Bank Network. This is their 990. Now, they're in Connecticut, but it says they're the National Diaper Bank. So what do? They raise awareness of diaper need and period poverty while working to end both. Interesting stuff, right? That's great, something to learn about. Okay, it sounds like a good fit. Then I want to come down here to expenses, line 13, grants that they've paid out. Ho-ho! Last year, they gave out $3 million. This most recent year, which was 2019, if we go back up to the top, and you'll see the tax form, the tax year is right here in the top right. It's year 2019. In 2019, they almost doubled how much they gave out. They went from $3 million to $5 million that they gave out. So, hey, they've got money to burn. At least they did in 2019. Good information to know. Keep scrolling down. Their mission statement. Why do you want to know the mission statement? And you're not necessarily going to have to find this on the 990. Their mission statement is plastered everywhere. This is not a key piece of information that you can't get other places. So not as important, but it is here so that you can look at it. I probably need my little list here. Let's see. I'm going to keep scrolling down. It'll take me a while to get down to the next section. But you can find out exactly who they funded and exactly how much money they gave to each organization. And that is a key piece of information. But before we get there, we stop here at part 7, compensation of officers, directors, trustees. Why do we need to know that? Remember, this is about building relationships. Do you know everybody on your funder's board? Does your board member possibly know somebody that's on this board? Relationship. So you want to be able to look over the 990 schedule. Section part 5. Part 7, section A, and see who are the officers. Read all that stuff. Maybe somebody knows them. Maybe you can pull some information up about them on LinkedIn and find out a little bit more about them. Maybe you can speak directly to one of them, or you can call the office, and instead of saying, can I speak to the program manager? You could say, is it possible that I could speak to Christine Lemke? And oh my goodness, now who would normally know her name? You can get right in and talk to her. So you want to check that out. That's very good information. There's the CEO, Joanne Goldblum. Yes, you might want to also know who she is as well. Keep scrolling down. This is their statement of revenue. That's where they get their money from. It's important, but not important to you during the grant writing process. What's more important to you is the money they put out. So here are the functional expenses. There's the money that they gave away in 2019. It matches that other number that was there. Keep going down. Uh-oh. Yep. Keep going down. The balance sheet is there. I don't really fool around with the balance sheet too much. And typically I would be able to move a little quicker, but I can't because this one doesn't let me scroll through the pages. I didn't download it all the way, so I'll just keep rolling through here real quick so you can see it. This part 2 of Schedule A tells you their funding over the past, 4 years. So 2015, they gave out 2 million, 2016, 6 million, 2017. So they're moving back up the scale now. So it looks like funding is expected to continue. When you call their office, you talk to them in their language. Hey, I noticed that you look like you're funding more. Is that expected to continue? Oh, it's 8:15. We got a lot of stuff to look at. So if you guys have to leave, I get it. I hope you don't though. So this one really, really fast. I want to get down to this last page where the money spot is. Let me get there. Facts and circumstances test. Here's some great information to know about the organization. It's weird the way it's written in there, but definitely you will want to read that. And then their contributors are here. We want to skip that, but we want to go to all the people that they funded. And this list right here at the bottom, let's see. I'm gonna miss it if I do it the other way. Financial statements. Is right here, Schedule I. So Schedule I for a 990 tells you they funded people in Chicago, Pennsylvania, Texas. You can find these organizations. You can look them up. You can see what kind of program they do. They applied for. You can see the amount of money they gave out. So right now, just looking at this, they've given out some smaller grants, and maybe you do some research and find out that all these organizations that got smaller grants, they're startups. So they do give some money, but not a lot. Then you go down, they put them in list order by the amount of money they've given out. You can assess all of the states, and maybe you can write in your grant and say, hey, we noticed you didn't fund anybody in the Midwest, or maybe you haven't funded somebody here in a really long time, but you funded in other areas. So that's a question that you can call and ask them. Look at the numbers going up though, all the numbers going up, 37,000, 39,000. Look how many people they funded in this 1 year. $80,000. If this is what you're looking for, maybe you want to call Share Baby and ask them, would you share some information about the grant that you applied for? Tell me a little bit about your organization. This is gold, because if you know this information before you sit down to write the application, you have 100 times more information than all the other people who are probably writing the grant. Because like I said, most organizations do not take the time to do this. Now, the Texas Diaper Bank looks like they got the largest share of money. If your organization has a really sound budget, has a really good plan, that might be you. And maybe Texas is not going to use their money next year, so they might help you and give you some information. Now, there's another 990. I'm not going to go through this one, but it's different for private foundations. In your documents that you're going to receive, you'll find a list of all of those lines that you need to go to. I didn't pull it out. I kind of scrolled through. Probably shouldn't have done that. Waste a little bit of time. So once you start looking for the funders that match, looking in GuideStar, looking over the 990s, you can start to develop a list of people who are literally going to match exactly what you do, right? Then you want to come here. I have it in a Google Drive. This is a grants database, and a grants database saves you time. It saves you money. It saves you all sorts of things. I'm going to move this up here. I'm going to leave it open, Cheryl. Well, maybe I shouldn't. Oh no, I'm going to leave it open. I just want to keep going. Okay, so here is the form. I'm going to go over to this one. And everybody has a blank copy of this with a few lines filled out so that you know what to do. This database is awesome. I've worked with organizations. There was one organization in particular. They kept hundreds of grants in a database because they applied for money over and over again. All of the organizations I work with start using these. They start getting a little bit better in that process. You put the focus of the grant. You put their geographic focus, like this organization might be national. This one is only Erie County. What is the award amount? What is the application process? Put in a link to their 990. Maybe you put in a grant thing and or a Google Doc, and you start listing all the 990s in a Google Drive so that all the people on your team can get access to it. Then you write additional notes. We have color coding up here. So if this was a new grant that we're just applying for or looking at, it's going to be this color. If you got awarded that money, that means, ooh, these are gold. Make sure we go back to them every year if they allow for that. Now, where do you find all of this information from? You can find that on the GuideStar page, or you can ask for the RFP. If you can find the RFP, the request for proposal, you find an organization, you go to their website, you go to the grants area, and you start looking at RFPs, or you get on the phone and you call and ask for that. That's where you pull all this info from. So you haven't started writing anything yet. You're still literally practicing and looking and trying to find as much data as possible so that you are able to write the proposal of a lifetime to make sure that you're going to get all the money that you are entitled to and that you need to serve your population. So this database is awesome. I'm going to switch over and show you the drive. Every single one of you will get access to this drive. It's called Junior Leagues Grants 101. If you don't have a Gmail account, you will have to always go to the link from your email. If you have a Gmail account, once you get access to this and you click in, you will go over here on the left-hand side and you will find this file in shared with me. It's in my drive because I own it. But once I share it with you, everybody will see this in their share it with me area. So if you have a Gmail account that you use to register, then that's where you're going to see it at. It'll come in your email. If you have a Gmail account and you didn't use it to register, you can always transfer it over to that Gmail account and share it with the Gmail account, because I believe everybody, I think I gave everybody editor, maybe view area. So you'll be able to get in there and find that. Cheryl, I see a lot going on in the chat. Are there any questions that I can be answering?
Yes, we don't have any questions going on in the chat, but I can see that everybody is just uber attentive. We do have one small question in the Q&A,
Okay.
and this is going back a little ways.
Mhm.
This is from Amanda. Amanda just had a quick question. I think this was possibly when you were going through the 990 initially,
Mhm.
but she said, was that the Vicky Clark that speaks to so many of the leagues on the board?
Oh, now that one I could not answer for you. That would be a
So I think
junior
you were
league
scrolling so
question.
fast. Yeah.
Mhm. That would be a junior league question, and it probably is if that was a was that on the diaper one, or was
I
that in the
I
junior
think
league one?
I think so,
Okay.
possibly.
Yep, I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to that one, and I wouldn't have had that answer either, so I apologize for that. Okay, so you have the drive, you have that. Let's go over to the library and look at the library. Now, I'm in Lucas County, Toledo, Ohio. As I said, I love the library. I'm going to go to the research page. So you click that link, every library is going to have something like this. So let's keep scrolling down. Hold on, I got my stuff in the way. Oh no, it's not there. Where's all my stuff at? Services. Sorry, not research. I got research on the brain. I go to services. It might be research on yours. It might be services. And then you see grant and nonprofit support. I click on there. It takes me right here to this page. Check with your library. If you don't have a library card and you're a grant writer, go get a library card. These people will save your life. So look what it says. They find funding. They help you start a nonprofit. They help you research prospective donors. They will even help you develop a strategic or fundraising plan, right? So the grants people, and they're usually in our library, they're in the business department, I believe. Yep, business and workforce department. They are a wealth of information. I don't know how to do this. I'm not really sure what's going to happen. Can you help me out? Go in there and sit down with them. Look at this bottom paragraph. I'm going to make it bigger so you can see it. Well, hold on there. That's as big as I can make it. Our grant specialists, they have a grant specialist. You're looking for a writer to help you out. The library has a grant specialist. Probably can't hire them to write for you, but they can do a personalized grant search for nonprofits and individuals. Complete the form and they will email you back the grants that fit what you asked for. Huh? You need to find grants. You're not really sure where to go. Hit up the library. They do it for free. If you own property or pay sales tax, you're paying for it already. Stop wasting money and giving it to grant writers to research grants for you. You have the ability to do this, and your library is a great place to get that started so that you can check it out. Let's see. The next thing that I wanted to look at, I think I did the diaper one. Oh, that's the diaper thing. I already did that. Oh, I'm almost done. Great. Here is ProPublica. ProPublica is another site that has now also combined with the Candid. So I think I put in the search for 990s and it took me to, let me see if it took me to another page here. No, I don't want this one. They just put a lot of different ones here. I think that's why I left that one up here. Let me go over here to PND, or is it this one? ProPublica. This is Candid. Sorry, guys, got a little twisted here. Switch. Let me go here. All right. So the Philanthropy News Digest. In your documents, you're going to find a lot of places where you can get information about RFPs or different industries or different research. Again, inside of Candid, because you can see the yellow line there, the Philanthropy News Digest page in Candid has RFPs by area. Look at all these areas. You're writing a higher ed one. You can find the actual requests for proposals for hundreds of different organizations. So we'll click on higher ed and let's see if you can find the RFP. You can get RFP alerts. So maybe you have another grant or you have them in your database and you want to make sure you know when the next one is coming up. They will send you an alert. This is a free service. Here's the currently active RFPs. You can hunt for them. They have 10 listed right here. So here we come down here. You're not doing much work. You're just clicking to a page. This is the internet. The free interwebs have all of your answers. Stop using your phone for Candy Crush and go and do some research. Just gonna tell you. Here's one right here, the Rainwater Charitable Foundation. Now, we know what we have to do. We know what they do. They'll give a fellow $10,000 to cover the cost of all of these things. Here's the deadline. If this was not for a fellowship, but for an organization, we'd immediately go to the other GuideStar page and put that organization in and find their 990. On this one, I don't know if it will show us the 990 for them because we're in the P&D, and this one is not about doing that. So we have to see. This is all about RFPs. So yep, it's a little confusing, but you have some of the tools here that can help you. So Rainwater Charitable Foundation, looking for fellows. That's an individual grant based on individual things that you're working on, but you could then go over to GuideStar and then put in, sorry, this is GuideStar right on this side, and then you would put their organization in the basic search. It will pull them up. Rainwater, is that the name of it? Rainwater Charitable Foundation. You can see the gross receipts. And you can see their 990s. So here's the 990s. They have to list three, the last three. So they have three 990s in there. You click on the 990 and you start that research. Once you get that information, your research and your environmental scan is that much easier. Remember, we haven't even touched a grant application at this point. We're literally just doing this research, and it's just a few sites. It's not a lot of stuff that's there that we have to be looking at, but you can do this. It's not easy by any means. I'm not telling you that it's super easy. I'm not telling you that it may not cause you some grief. But what I am telling you is that if you're willing to put in this type of work before you go, which grant can I get? I want to do this, or I'm not really sure. Do this and watch your grant writing process better. It's like building your house on solid foundation, right? You want to build your house where, hey, we all know what's going on. The basement might have a hole in it, but we have the guy coming tomorrow to put a patch over there, right? We know we need some more funding, and we know that we have a database, and we know that they have funded us in the past. We feel very strongly. I've been talking with this person for 6-7 months because the application is coming back around. She knows, or he knows, who we are, and now we're going to submit the proposal of a lifetime, and our chances of getting this grant are 1,000 times better than they were last year when we just willy-nilly put one and said, let's turn it in. And that's what happens before you ever write any grants. All of these things are key components to making sure that you can do exactly what you need to do, which is meet your mission. It is not chase the money. It's about the services you provide. And if you provide services to a population of people who depend on you, who need you, your true work is making sure that you can be fully funded, that you can serve them well, that you can serve your funders well, that you can build the best relationships possible. Remember that picture with the things, the need I fit, the budget I need to do it, and the person who gives me the money. That's what the grant writing process is about. All right, guys, are there any questions? What is 8:29? I can't believe it.
You did it. You did it. Just a tiny question, but this is a great question. This is from Kara. Kara would like to know, are candid accounts free?
Depends on which ones. That I went to the foundation online and they wanted me to pay something. So, I know, I can show you one other thing, but the GuideStar is free. The PND is free. You don't need any others. If you use the GuideStar information and you use the PND, or there's tons of them out there. Some of them are free. Some of them are for paid. Don't pay any money. Just find another one and look at it. But GuideStar, you won't go wrong. Let me go back and share the screen so that I can show you what's in the drive. Okay, so let me, you know what? I gotta figure this out. I don't know what the heck's going on with this. This Mac, we're not even going there. Switch. Okay, here we go. All right, so here we are in the drive. You have a Grants 101 handout. And in this Grants 101 handout, I give you some information about organizational assessments. We're going to be talking about the internal things tomorrow. So we're going to talk about that problem you solved, those documented successes, all those different pieces, your social media. Are you so new that you can't be found? Why on earth do you think they would fund you? I'm just going to take your word for it that you do those things. We're going to be looking at all of that stuff tomorrow. You also have links on here for the research areas, public records requests. Most of the things that we do in the nonprofit world are bound by public records requests. If you're trying to see who got funding from Job and Family Services in 2019, you can call Job and Family Services and say, I would love to see the last 3 proposals that scored the highest in the last round. They have to give it to you by law. What I've provided for you here is a request by state. So you can read the public records request law by state. If you have any problems with anything, cite that law. They will immediately give you all the documents you asked for, right? Your census data, how to navigate the tables. That's that link to that YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the U.S. Census YouTube channel. If you get stuck on the census, they can walk you through like that high level super geography. I'm not a super geographer. I'm an okay geographer, but there are some nerdy nerd geographers out there, and they all work at the census. So the 990 search for GuideStar, ProPublica, your local library, Candid, you have links for all that. Grants.gov, state procurement sites, more information about the 990. So here's all the lines. If you're looking at a company that has a 990 or 990 EZ, here's all the lines you want to look at to see all the information. You go directly to these spots and you'll know more about that organization than you can shake a stick at. Right. And if you're finding a private foundation, they fill out 990 PF for private foundations. Not rocket science here. For those organizations, you want to look at these areas right here. Okay, so these are the lines where you go in and find total amount of contributions, the officers and directors, the summary of direct charitable activities, and then grants and contributions paid during the year or approved for future funding. So you know exactly who they funded. That is money in the bank, is gold in your pocket, it's pennies from heaven. Whatever you need to do to make that stick, use the 990. If there's nothing else you take from here, before you write your next grant, find out who's giving you the money. If you know more about them, you can speak better to them. Here's also a link for a sample grant database. I talked about that. You can click right on that link. It's going to take you right in to a database. You need to save that database, and we're going to update this with some instructions. You want to copy that database and save it in a different area because that's the sample. You want to save it into your own area or download it to your computer, and then you can start using it, okay? Because everybody has access to that same one. So this is going to be filled with more things as we get ready for tomorrow as well. So that page is empty. Then we come down here. Now, this information comes from this strategic fund development, and this has the non-government funding sites. So you can click to all of these links. Now, Foundation Center, we know, is no more. They're doing theirs through through the Candid place. But some of these links, because they came from 2013, they might work, they might not work. But look what they've done. They tell you if it's free, if it's fee-based, if you have to be a member. Skip all the paid ones, look at the free ones, start doing some hunting. You're going to find some sweet stuff. You have 3 pages, not 1, not 2, but 3 pages: corporate search sites, research grant sites, blogging and related news sites. The Chronicle of Philanthropy has so much information. If you want to be a grant writer, you want to start subscribing to these or at least checking them on a regular basis. Here's a whole list of them all right here. So if you're looking for, how do I make that next buck? How do I get that next grant? How do I actually put my stuff together? It's about that lifelong learning, baby. You got to get in there. You got to check all this stuff out. And it's not just you. Assign your team some of this stuff. Hopefully, you have been inundated with information and you now recognize grant writing is a team process. You need a team. Have a couple team members take a different one of those and start doing research, and whoop, they're going to move the needle so much more. have a retreat, get everybody on board, get everybody set up, and get ready to write. All right, guys.
So,
Thanks for
Crystal,
sticking
we
around.
have a couple of quick questions.
Okay.
This is from Mary and Maddie, and they just want to know, are we using the same link for tomorrow's session, or how do we sign up for tomorrow's webinar? So
Yep, the
can you just
same
give a
link.
tidbit?
Yep, same link. I'm going to go into Zoom and change the date to tomorrow. So it will send you that same link tomorrow, an hour before, and you'll get, it's the same link. So if you keep it, that's perfectly fine. But I am going to go in and change that. So
And
you'll,
Crystal, can you just confirm also, I see Gail's comment, the time zone?
oh, Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
Yes, I'm terribly sorry if that was confusing for anybody. I think it might have been on the flyer. I don't know if they put it in the Zoom or not. I apologize for that. That's the thing about national things. I definitely understand that. And don't worry if you missed anything or you came in an hour behind or something, because this is being recorded and everybody gets lifetime access to all of this info.
Absolutely. And also Gail just had a little note to make sure you see her message in the chat.
All right,
Send a note to you. And then we have another little comment, one of our anonymous attendees, just regarding your information with the IRS, that not much gray cell is used in form names. So that was there in the Q&A.
Okay. What now? Tell me what it said again. I missed that.
Okay, it said it's the IRS. Not much gray cell is used in form names. With a little wink. Yes. So want to definitely thank everybody for your chat conversations. I appreciate that. But Crystal knows what we do and how we end this. So Crystal, I'm going to put her on the hot seat. You have shared so much wonderful information. I want to give a gold star to Victoria. Victoria said she's already created her Guide Star, I believe it was a Guide Star account. Yay. So I said, awesome. Thank you so much. I see the comments coming in. So Crystal, as we close out, it should sound familiar. I'm going to ask you to give us in 30 seconds your final seed of wisdom for tonight. What do you want us to walk away with and possibly try to put into action before even tomorrow?
Ooh, thank you. Great
that could
question.
be 2 seeds.
All right, 2 seeds. Here we go. Get a team. It's not all you. If it's all you, find another cause. It's going to drain you. If you do not have a team, you will not implement. You may write, you may even win. You will never implement, because getting somebody to buy into your dream that you have money for in enough time to fund the grant, to meet all the requirements, is going to create that ripple effect. This is a slog. I can't stand it, right? No, find a team and find them early. Second seed, read the 990. Read the 990. I like knowing who I'm talking to. If I know that you fund people in the Midwest, I can talk about the Midwest like no other. If I know that you only work with women in homeless shelters, and my program is all about women in homeless shelters, and I know that your board members, I looked up their stories and found them online, and I know they were there. When I start writing stories, I can say, like Kara, I have people in my family who have risen above and have come out like this. You're now building in key storytelling features. You're connecting with your funder, with your reader. You don't do that on an accident. It's very intentional. But in order for you to do that, you do the research and the planning before you do the writing. That's what I got today.
Wow. Well, Crystal, I can't thank you enough, even though I know I was assisting behind the scenes, but I can tell from all of the beautiful comments in the chat, we are so appreciative of all the information you've presented. And I do want to ask you, I don't know if you're going to give me a green light, but I know you're going to send out access to the link in the post email that you're going to send out. But Do you want to drop it? Have me drop it in the chat right now.
Absolutely. Drop it in the
Oh,
chat.
are we're getting a birthday gift early?
Gifts. There you
All
go.
right.
Get that database, spend some time in there tonight, share it with all of your friends. You can download everything in there and start emailing it to your teams. Let them know that there's a new thing going on. We're going to be writing grants, but we're going to approach it much different. Schedule a retreat and get busy and get started. Super awesome. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me tonight. When you leave, do not forget, you should see a link that will ask you to fill out a survey. Please, please, please take a few minutes. There's only like 10 or 11 questions. Get that information back so that we can know what worked, what didn't work. You are not required to answer all of the questions, but if you would give us some insight, that will help us out a lot. It will help the Junior League as well as they continue to plan to put programming on like this. Again, let's clap it up for the Junior League of Toledo for making this awesome event possible. Thank you so much, Junior League. I think it's been a stellar turnout, and we're looking for you and a few of your friends to come back tomorrow. There's still open registration, so go ahead and get people to register, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Good night, everyone.